Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy to have you.
Nice.
Hi. I'm gonna just let people come in for a bit. And then we'll get started, but welcome to everyone who's here. Thanks for joining. All right, we're recording. All right, I'm gonna give everyone like one more minute and then we'll get started. But so just hang tight. Hi, Vanessa. Welcome. And Nabiha, I guess once I get started, if you want to just keep an eye and if there's any latecomers,
Yeah,
let them in.
Mhm.
Be great.
Definitely.
And hi everyone. We're gonna get started in just a minute. Let some more people come. Welcome. Yay, I'm glad. Thanks, Vanessa. All right, I think we'll get started.
Mhm.
Hi everyone, welcome to Grow NYC's Workforce Development Program info session. We are recording this session today, so if you forget things or someone who just wants, feels like this is a lot of information up front, don't worry. I'm going to send this out when we're done and you'll be able to reference it later to get more information. So I appreciate everybody's already on mute. That's really helpful for myself and Nabiha, who will be presenting today. So if we could just stay that way and feel free to use the chat. I'll do my best to look at what's coming through there, but we'll make sure to answer everything at the end. So we have a lot to get through. We'll try to get through it quickly and we'll leave a really nice chunk of time at the end for specific questions. Next slide, please.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right, thanks. So I'm Aviva. I use she, they pronouns. I'm the youth engagement coordinator for Grow NYC. So my primary job is to run the summer workforce development internship programs that we're here talking about today. And I'm actually joined by one of our graduates from last year's program who I will let introduce herself.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Nabiha. I'm one of the Workforce Development Program graduates from 2023. I use she, her pronouns, and right now I'm actually a freshman at Binghamton University. So I'm kind of far away from all of you guys right now.
That's okay. Great. Thanks, Nabiha. So today, we're going to go over a little bit about what Grow NYC is. Maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. That's totally okay. I thought it would be helpful just to set the stage for who we are and what we do. Then we'll really dive into the program. I'll give a little overview. I'll give an example of what like a week might look like during the summer. Then we'll hear a little bit from Nabiha about her experiences last summer with the program. And then we'll end with some application process information, which will lead us into questions. Next slide, please. Great. So before we begin, I thought it would be helpful just to set some community norms for everyone. Even though we are here just for a short hour, I think it's nice just to like set the stage for all of us. We're all coming from different places of the city, from different maybe experience levels, different ages. This is a liberated space, so please feel free to share your thoughts, your concerns, your opinions. I only ask that you respect each other and remember that we all are coming to this from different places. So we all have different experiences to bring and share. There will be time for questions at the end. So like I said, if you have like a burning question that you are afraid you're going to forget of, feel free to put it in the chat so you remember it. But we will make sure we get to those at the end of this presentation. And that also means that there's one mic for this. Primarily, I will be speaking and Nabiha will be speaking a little bit. And once we get to the end, you can unmute yourself and ask your questions. And lastly, be willing to learn something new. For some of us, this might be our first entrance into the job world. So like, don't be afraid. We're here to ask questions. No question's too small. No question is stupid. You know, I'm really just being here already, showing up means that you're interested, and I'm very excited to get to know you and work with you in whatever way you are ready to like be a part of this conversation. So thank you for being here. All right, next slide, please. So who is Grow NYC? For those who don't know, Grow NYC is a nonprofit organization. We work all across the city in a lot of different environmental and sustainability work areas. So these are our 4 core areas of work we focus in. One of those is conservation. We provide outreach and education to increase the awareness about the environment to all New Yorkers. We also work to provide green spaces and bring more green space to our New Yorkers as well. A huge part of our work is education, and we help to create environmental stewards for the next generation, as well as provide people with meaningful interactions with nature in their community. And lastly, our big one is our food access and agriculture. So this is really through transforming our local food system and ensuring that everybody has equal access to the healthiest food possible. Okay, next slide. Some fun history. Grow NYC was actually established more than 50 years ago. So we've been around for a really long time in New York City. We were originally called the Council on the Environment of New York City, which is a really long name. And that was back when we were actually a part of the city government of New York City. So we were initially a policy-based organization doing a lot of reporting and like writing and research around things like air quality and water quality and traffic pollution and noise. But later we started to take on more work, thinking about composting and recycling and ways we could educate people and provide green space. And so we actually separated from the city government, and today we are our own operating nonprofit. So we are not part of New York City, even though we have New York City in our name. We are just a nonprofit that operates separately to provide public services to the city of New York. Next slide, please. Cool. So we have a lot of programs and we're really big. I'm just going to scratch the surface of this because I feel like it's helpful for those of us who might be interested in working at Grow NYC to understand the work that we actually do. We have our zero waste programs. So that's things like compost. We have like a clothing swap. We do electronics pickups. So that's really funded by the Department of Sanitation, and those programs work to collect and reduce waste. Next, we have our zero waste schools, which is part of that program, except in public schools, we actually teach kids how to do all of those things themselves and how to create a zero waste school. So their entire school is operating in like a really sustainable and equitable way. And that leads into our education work. So education is really vast. We work with school gardens, we work with teachers, we work with food and nutrition education, and workforce development as part of education. So we really stretch all across the city and educate K through 12 learners and young adult, as well as older adult and adult centers. We also have our green space program. So that's things like community gardens. We help build green spaces. We help also work to improve green spaces. So helping people to build new fences and build new garden beds and things like that. And then our really big department is our food access and agriculture. So this is where you might have recognized us, our green markets and our farm stands, those really big tents that we have our names on them. These are the sites where we really distribute food out to New Yorkers and where farmers can come and like get fresh food out to people. We also have food assistance programs here. So we take SNAP, EBT, and as well as just educating New Yorkers on ways they can get the best deals for fresh and nutritious, affordable food. And lastly, we have wholesale, which is where we actually help farmers get their food out to other places in New York City. And we distribute fresh produce to so many vendors in New York. And we actually work with over 40 farms from around our area. And this is really a wonderful program to get food out to people as well. All right, next slide. This is just a map. It's really cool. These are some of our sites all across the city. We're in all 5 boroughs: Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, the Bronx. So if, you know, after this, you're curious, you can go online, you can find this map and you can check us out. Got a lot of sites. We're all over the place. All right, next slide. Let's talk about the program. So workforce development program. This is a 7-week paid internship opportunity. So it runs July 1st through August 14th. And it operates Monday through Wednesday. So this is a part-time opportunity. It's not a full-time job. It's 20 hours a week and it runs at $17 an hour. We're located in New York City because it's Grow NYC. So you have to be here to participate in the program. It is a hybrid program. I would say that we meet about 80% of the time in person. So you are expected to really be available for that. I'd say on average, like 2 out of the days of the 3 days, you will be in person. The other bits are some virtual. It's a really big combination of a lot of things. We've got workshops, guest speakers. You're going to have field days where you actually get to work with Grow NYC programs. It is a hands-on program. It's exciting. And you're just going to really use the backdrop of New York City to explore our food system and working within it. Just really exciting. All right, next slide. So some of the themes of our program, which I'm guessing maybe is why some of you are here today, because you're interested in learning more about these things. Our urban agriculture. So this is like growing food in cities. How do we do that? What does it look like, right? And then a huge part of that is also thinking about environmental justice and advocacy. Where is there more food? Where is there less food? Why? What are the real issues that lead to food insecurity and inequities in our food system? Another piece of this is learning about nutrition and public health, how that's related to food, and the jobs around that. And then we'll also explore food access and food justice. A lot of our work is connected to that, and you'll get to meet a lot of people working in that space. And lastly, thinking about climate change and the environment. How is this all connected to working to make New York a more equitable and sustainable city? So the workforce development program, I feel like falls into these 4 big categories. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about these as we move through. But the big ones are horticulture training, professional development, work experience with Grow NYC, and community action. So let's talk about the first one, horticulture training. Horticulture is a kind of weird word. Let me get some reactions from folks. Thumbs up if you know what horticulture means. Okay, Tallulah knows. Okay, anyone else? Okay, maybe some of us do. That's awesome. I feel like I didn't know the word horticulture when I was younger, so I always like to ask. It is a fancy word that just means learning how to like care for and grow plants. That's it. Any plant. So that can be food plants, it can be medicinal plants, it can be trees. It really is a broad category. So the horticulture training that we are offering as part of the workforce development program is really just like basic garden skills, right? So like, how do you seed? How do you take care of a plant? How do you harvest from the plant? All of these things that are just really a part of the beginning section of our food system, right? Actually growing food. What does that look like? So you'll get to visit urban farms. You get to work at the teaching garden and kind of learn those skills. And we'll also get to experience other programs and work days with our Gardens at NYCHA program and our Green Space Department at Grow NYC. And the second part, big part of this experience is professional development. So I feel like a lot of us are here today, maybe because we're looking to dip our toes into the workforce for the first time, or maybe have a little bit of experience, but want to expand this. This is a huge part of a workforce development program, right? Is like learning the ins and outs of a workplace. What is professional? How do I take a day and work over here with new people? What does communication look like? What does public speaking look like? So you're going to get to hear from a lot of Grow NYC professionals and experts from the field, which is really great. You get to ask them questions and learn from them, but you'll also get to do some self-work. So thinking through how I can workshop my resume, how I can think about who I am, maybe in the field of advocacy, where do I want my voice to be heard? How do I want to make that impact in my work? As well as getting some basic workforce training for the days that you're going to spend at Grow NYC programs. So the third big piece of this are your work days with Grow NYC, which is where you apply everything that you learn throughout the program. Here we have 2 of our interns from last summer at a farm stand. Nabiha, you were at this farm stand, right? Which one was it?
Yeah, I think and this was my farm stand. This was Eastchester, so that's in the like Bronx, like North area.
Yeah. Yeah,
Makes me
maybe
very
we'll
happy.
hear a little more about that from Nabiha when she shares. But these are days where you actually, with some of your intern cohort, get to go work at Grow NYC sites. These are active sites. So these are the people who work these sites, like this is their job. And you are there to both learn from them, but also apply your skills and like get yourself out there and see what it's like to work at these sites for a day. So you'll get to likely work at farm stands this summer, as well as some green space sites and some education sites. So these are the days where you're starting to like apply your skills and really get that hands-on field experience. And the last chunk of this program is community action. So this is a huge part of the work we're doing in like every piece of this, but through field trips and getting to actually visit other sites across the city, not only, you know, volunteering, but you'll get to meet other youth programs that are doing similar things and kind of they'll invite us into those spaces. You'll hear about some of the advocacy work they're doing, some of the work they're doing in the food system, and really just like network and get to know what else is going on in New York City, which is a really valuable piece of this program, I think. And then together as a cohort, we're going to work on a project, and we're going to do this project throughout the course of the summer. And it's a project that's really just going to better the environment of some area of the city. And we'll think through that together and talk about its impact. So a week in the life, what does it look like? So if we're imagining that this program runs Monday to Wednesday, which it does, a Monday would look like a day at the Teaching Garden. So I don't know if everyone's heard of the Teaching Garden, but it's on Governor's Island, which also I don't know if we've heard of this, but there is actually an island at the base of Manhattan that sits in between Brooklyn and Manhattan. It's a small island. And right now there's a lot of nonprofits, actually specifically environmental nonprofits that have spaces there. And we are one of them. We have our own working urban farm. So this farm and this garden will be the site of our Mondays. This is where we'll do like our horticulture work. We'll get to actually work in the garden. We'll do our workshops here. And it's just a great day to be outside together in community. So then on a Tuesday, that might look like a field trip in the morning, followed by some online work, and that might be guest speakers or holding another workshop. You know, a resume workshop might be held on this day. So these are the days where we really dig into like our professional development and our networking. We also might visit some other sites and do some volunteer work on these days and just think about our broader impact within the community of New York City. And then lastly, on Wednesdays, this is where you're applying your skills. So this is where you're actually going to get to work at Grow NYC sites. This might be in small groups, it might be all together as a cohort, but these are like the real work days where we're getting outside, we're getting our hands dirty, and we're really diving into the communities of New York City through Grow NYC's programs. All right, Nabiha, tell us.
Okay, so my name is Nabiha, and like I mentioned, I'm an undergraduate student at Binghamton University. I'm pursuing a major in chemistry specifically because I want to go into pharmaceuticals, which I know it doesn't sound like it's very related to environmental justice, but I'm someone who really cares about the environment and like food advocacy, specifically in New York City, because I've lived here for like well over a decade, and it's really important to me to make sure that the people in my community have access to the food they need and the green spaces they need. So last year when I applied to Grow NYC, it was something that I was really passionate about, specifically because I could see myself actually being able to like contribute to my community. These pictures that you're seeing right now, all of them were taken during the internship last summer. I got to go to Governor's Island for the first time in my life, which was super amazing. And you guys are actually really lucky because I only got to go once and you're going like 7 times. So I'm a little bit jealous. If you see like at the bottom, that's a picture of me talking to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which is like a big flex. I've been telling all my friends, oh my God, I met a US representative. But like being able to meet people who care about the environment, who actively want to make a difference, I feel like is the biggest benefit from this internship, at least for me. I learned a lot about being able to grow my own food or like help other people grow their food. I learned about how easy it is to actually cook meals for yourself and feed yourself sustainably. And it actually it motivated me to start cooking for myself in college, which is something that I've really been interested in for the past couple of months. I would highly recommend this internship specifically because I feel like it helps you grow professionally, but it also helps you grow personally a lot. And that's why I'm here. Like I'm sitting here at 5 p.m. on a Monday specifically because I want to tell you like this is an opportunity that you should genuinely consider because you're going to get a lot from it. I'm here. I think Aviva is going to answer like any technical questions you have. But if you have personal questions about like what was the experience like or how was transportation, you can kind of address those to me and I'll try to help you out with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Nabiha. That was really lovely. Yes, we will add questions at the end. If you have questions for Nabiha,
Yeah.
please, she's here to answer. And we will also give you our emails at the end. So you'll be able to follow up if you don't feel comfortable asking a question to her. Something comes to mind later. Great. What a summer. So now into like the boring stuff, which I like to leave for the end because I feel like it's the part where we get the most questions. The application process. So the application for this internship opens late March. So it'll open probably the last week of March. It opens up on our career portal. So it's just a website that you go to and you'll see it and you click on it and that's where you do the application. So it's through this system online that we use for all of the jobs at Grow NYC. So that application will open in late March. I'm going to send out an email to basically like everyone who's here today. I'll also tell you how to sign up for our newsletter where I'll send out an email about the application there as well. So don't worry, you won't miss it. And once it's open, it'll stay open for a couple weeks. So I encourage people to apply right away because we do interviews on a rolling basis. So rolling basis, what does that mean? That means that if an application comes in and I read it and I'm like, oh, I'd like to learn more about this person, I will call them like that day or that week. So I'm not like waiting until I get this huge pool to then call everybody. I'm actually just calling you as soon as you apply. So it's great for you and it's great for me because you actually get to hear from me and think, okay, like I'm a step up in this process. This actually means like this is a good thing. And for me, it makes my life easier. So in April, you'll start to get calls to basically check in with you and talk to you one-on-one. Hi, who are you? You know, like, why did you want to apply? Is there anything you want me to know? And then there are second round interviews. So after that first phase, that's where we'll meet in person. I like to do those as group interviews. They're less scary and annoying. One-on-one interviews can be like really hard. So in a group, you'll meet, you'll get to like do an activity, we'll get to chat. And then by early June, so like end of May, that's when I send out the final decisions. So it's a long process. This is pretty typical for a job. For those of us who have had jobs, it takes a while. We're also hiring 19 people. I forgot to mention that. I realized I left it out. There's 19 slots for interns. So we have to find 19 folks, but it also means that there's lots of space. So in the month of June, that's when you're expected to kind of like be on the lookout for onboarding things. There's just a few technical things that we need from you to like get you basically in our system for working with us. And then we'll meet and we'll have fun. And then the program starts July 1st. And then it's just fun from there on out. So this is just like a general overview of the timeline. Again, I'm like assuming there'll be questions. So if there's anything here, just like hold on to it and we'll get to it at the end. All right, next slide, please. So this link I'll share, but as I mentioned, there is a career page on our website. You could also probably type into like your search engine, Grow NYC jobs, and this link will probably come up. You won't see it there right now because the job is not posted, but when it does become posted, you'll see it there and that's where you'll click on it and you'll apply. So for those of us who it's like the first time maybe applying to a job in a fancy system, it can be kind of scary. There's a lot of steps, but I promise you I'm going to do my best to make it as easy as possible. So some of the things that you'll want to like maybe think of or be ready to answer in this application. It's just some basic personal information. So like your name, your address, where you go to school, where you live, who's your emergency contact, that kind of stuff. If you have a work history, you'll put it there. So I know what experiences you have. It's a really great way for me to get an idea of who you are and what you've done. If you don't have a work history, that's okay. There's no expectation for that for this internship. We have tons of folks who that this is your first job and that's fully okay. And we're more than prepared. And if not expecting some of the applicants to be in that space. I would love to have your education history though, right? Like if you go to school, where do you go to school? What grade are you in? All that stuff. And then this is the part that's like the most important, I think. It's answering your questions. So instead of a cover letter or resume, which maybe some of us have heard of, but never written, that's okay. That's also not a requirement for this. You will be asked questions, and this is where you'll let yourself shine. So, why do you want to join the workforce development program? I feel like we all maybe know and have learned from our teachers in school, like if you say, because I really want to, period, that's not going to tell me anything about you. And it's not going to make me want to have you on our team. I want to understand really like why you're interested. And that means like giving me a bit of a story, painting a picture of who you are, where you want to go. And this is something you can take your time with too, right? So maybe you'll look at these questions the first day and then go back and answer them after. And then there's a reference. So again, a reference, that is just someone who can speak to you. That's not you. So everything you're saying to me, like, hey, that's great, I've met you, but it's great to have a reference because you want to basically call them and say like, hey, how do you know this person? They said that they love the environment. Is that true? Have you learned anything about them? So that's like a teacher, a guidance counselor, an employer, or a coworker. Those are just some examples. But this is just this is the last part of the process where like once we've interviewed and everything, I'll call your reference just to get a little more information. So again, think about this. If there's any questions at the end, I'm happy to answer. All right, next slide. So some tips for when you're applying. I think I actually already mentioned some of this. Take your time. Once you submit, you can't go back. So it's not something to rush. If you need help or you think you need help, you can do this with someone. If you have like a sibling who is older or younger and has like work jobs, sit with them and do it. If you have a parent or a guardian, a teacher even might be willing to help you. That's totally okay. I also recommend like finding a comfortable place. Don't do this on your phone. You might mess up and then it's just like you can't go back. So definitely get in a comfortable place when you're applying to a job. It'll make you feel a lot better once you hit submit. And also I will be seeing what you submit. So even if you feel like, oh no, maybe I'm not qualified. Oh no, like I don't have an answer to this question. Do your best, still submit it. I look at all of them. So I will, call you if there's maybe some stuff missing. So always submit even if you're unsure of some things. All right, next slide. So after all that, you might be more interested, you might be less interested, but if you're more interested, that's great. So this program is really for anybody between the ages of 16 and 19. Again, in New York City, if the stuff we talked about today is like really exciting to you and you're looking to get your hands in the food system and understand a little bit more about the environment and the work we're doing, that's wonderful. If you're like, Grow NYC is not my future, that's also okay, right? This is just an experience and we have to try. So if you're like, I'm looking to do some work with food and the environment, but I don't really know if I'll like Grow NYC, that's okay too. This job is for those of you who are maybe even interested in like Nabiha going into some other tangential field that might not be fully related to the work that we're doing. If you're curious, if you're just ready to try something new, that's great. So wherever you're at, wherever you feel like you're starting this journey of your career, like this job, you'll find something in it that I think will be exciting and connected to your growth as a person, just like Nabiha mentioned. All right, next slide. So lastly, we have some things coming up. I'm going to share these dates at the end. Some ways you can learn more and continue to connect with us. All of these things are available on our Eventbrite where you found this workshop. So if you go back to our Eventbrite page, you'll see we're having a Green Careers Exploration in March. This is going to be really cool if you're like, I want to learn a little bit more about Grow NYC programs before I make a decision, or if you're just looking to make some connections with some people who work in all of our programs. We're going to have folks from across our departments there to like tell us about how they started working at Grow NYC. What was your journey? Where were you when you were 16? What did you think you'd be doing? So this is going to be a really great opportunity for anybody. If you've done the program, if you haven't, to really just learn more about the workforce and the environmental work field. And we'll have some application assistance. So you're not alone. If you need some extra support, we're going to have 2 of those sessions in April. Once the application opens, you can come in for an hour and I will be there to actually help you one-on-one with specific application questions. And again, I'll send you some sign up for our youth newsletter and the education website, which is a great place to find more workshops. All right. Nabiha, do you want maybe stop sharing?